Hey guys, this video is going to be a hot meta update for 7.32b with the top hero in every position, top debate hero in every position, and some sleeper picks that I think you guys should be keeping an eye out for at TI, as well as to be looking to pick in your pubs.
Banana slam jam.
So we're going to go and count down. Starting at position 5, we are going to go with Omni Knight. He received an insane buff that allows his W to dispel his teammate and himself. It just makes it so that his quality of life usage of his spells is much easier in fights, not having to worry about ever prioritizing himself. And his win rate, as you can see here, is above 54% in every bracket, and it's at 56% in Immortal. Absolutely nutty. Definitely the best, most reliable save support in pubs, just due to he's basically an IO for dummies. You know, IO dummy 101. Next up in the 4 position is Nyx Assassin. They buff the cast range on his stun, which makes it easier to land, and they also lower the cooldown of Vendetta in the early levels. This hero's only issue in history has ever been that he just has issues getting out of the early game in the laning stage, and he loses to the early group up and push lineups. And even though his win rate is a little bit lackluster in the lower brackets, you can see it gets better and better all the way up to 52.7% in Immortal. This hero feels reliable, he's good at getting solo pickoffs, he scouts, and overall scales very well as support, and you'll have insane late game impact. Next up in the 3 position is one of my least favorite heroes in all of Dota 2 to play against, but also one of the favorite heroes for people to watch is Enigma. His win rate in Immortal is 54%, and he's barely got below 50% in Herald. This hero is mainly played as an offlaner, and what makes him so strong is that the shard now allows you to kind of play around your Eidolons on a lower cooldown, so people have different options. We see Vlad sometimes to group up and push. Sometimes I just see straight up Aetherlin's Blink, and you can get shards somewhat early and play around your Malefice. Basically, what they are doing is shifting this hero from being totally reliant on Black Hole to be impactful, to being a little bit of a hybrid of like not quite as strong when he's got Black Hole, but also very strong outside of it. And I feel like right now, as long as they don't have a BKB piercing disable, Enigma's probably the best late game hero in all of Dota. Next up, you guys are going to hate me for this. You guys are going to hate me so much. I'm sorry. In the mid lane is Tinker. They gave him a lot of buffs, and most notably the fact that you can disable his rearm. Like if you interrupt it, it goes on cooldown, but it has much faster cast time, and overall the meta with the small camp being gone and ancients being stackable is more of the way for mid laners to get farmed. Tinker just feels like he doesn't get outpaced by the enemy mids. His win rate is sitting in Immortal at 54%. He's even got above 50% win rate in Herald, guys. This hero's definitely a bit overtuned, and if you've been considering learning Tinker, now's definitely a patch to do it. And if you're already a Tinker spammer, we are already judging you, but at the end of the day, this is certainly looking like a patch for you. It seems like most people are either going Shiva Strength Blink, sometimes I've seen Ags, but the late game Sheep Sticks, it's just perma-disable, and it's really about the fact that the mid lane slowed down in pace because of the small camp. In the safe lane, obviously timely with the Arcana, is our boy Faceless Void. He is definitely my standout carry for the patch. I feel like he's the most meta-defining carry, and I actually reference Dota 2 Pro Tracker for his win rate, as he's being seen in all my games. He's the 4th highest picked hero in my bracket, and he also has a 54% win rate, which is absolutely nutty. And what a lot of people are doing, they're either going for the Mask of Madness or they're going for the Midas. It really comes down to whether or not you need the sustain. If you think you have a little bit of extra time to farm, Midas is an insane item on the hero. And at the end of the day, Chronosphere is one of the best late game spells in all of Dota. But what we're seeing formulaically is Mask of Madness or Midas into Maelstrom, BKB. A lot of times people will go an extra defensive item like Scotty, Lincoln's, something along those lines to give you mana, and then your 6th or 5th item is Refresher. So it just makes the hero strong at all stages of the game. I also think the Flag Bearer creeps are really good for carries that play along with trading and sustain, and that's exactly what Faceless Void does. Next up are our top Jub8 picks of the patch that you may see in a lot of games on streams. And also you may be thinking they look or feel good, but that is not how it works according to the win rates. At the 5 position, a hero we've seen in competitive for the last year plus is Enchantress. If you guys were thinking, now's the time for me to finally learn how to play those micro heroes in the safe lane, BSJ, now is not the time to learn Enchantress. Her win rate at every bracket is sub 47%, even at the Immortal bracket. And at the end of the day, she's a lane dominator that's not that straightforward. And even though she can scale going carry items like Dragonlance and stuff, it just isn't that reliable compared to teamfight supports or save supports. In the 4 position, a hero we also saw a ton at the last major, but also struggles with sub 47% win rate in every single bracket, people. I think the issue with this hero is that when they nerfed her shard, she no longer has like solo playmaking potential. I think her shard is still pretty decent, the one they now gave her on her cookie, giving her a glob on the cookie for extra damage. But the hero just relies too much on coordination, and it's not reliable. She's a hero that follows everybody else up, and I've found that heroes like that in pubs that are basically waiting for their teammates to do something, or they cast a spell on their teammates and their teammates have to play properly with that spell, it just doesn't work. So sub 47% win rate every single bracket. Next up, now that we see him added to captain's mode in the 3 position, we're going to bring up Primal Beast. I've been seeing this hero get picked a lot in my games. I've seen it 3 position or mid. And while it does sometimes feel like it can snowball out of control, I just don't feel like the hero's numbers were nearly as good as when it came out in the original patch, and it definitely falls off like a rock, even though he throws rocks, because of the fact that his trample is pretty much responsible for all of his damage, and eventually the enemy will have a lot of stuns, force staffs to get away, just makes it so your damage output is incredibly unreliable, and even though you have a mobility spell to initiate, you generally have to buy Blink anyways, so the hero just feels relatively clunky. He does represent a higher win rate at the highest brackets than he does at lower brackets, but his win rate in Immortal is still only 48.4%, and he goes only downhill from there. Next up in the 2 position is a hero you've been seeing in all the streams, and if you go to Dota 2 Pro Tracker, you'll see him as the 5th most picked hero in the Immortal bracket is Batrider. This hero's sitting at a comfy 53.6% win rate in Immortal. Now, you may say, BSJ, why is this hero in your Jabate picks? And I will say this hero is absolutely broken, but he is not straightforward, takes a lot of finesse, and you have to be hyper aggressive to make him work. Because of the way Sticky works, you basically have to all-in commit and kill people and just constantly pressure the opponent. What does that mean? He is not a noob-friendly hero, people. We pull up Batrider in the lower brackets, 43%, 44%, 46%. Not until Immortal and Divine does he finally have above a 50% win rate. And I'm not telling you guys to not pick Batrider, but if you're gonna do it, you have to learn this hero. You have to have a freaking screw loose, people, because this hero does not cater to the unwilling to dive the shit out of the opponent. Still the same build as always with the Boots of Travel, BKB, and Witchblade, Ether Lens, Blink Dagger, any of all these combinations. But just be careful if you are going to pick him, because he's not as straightforward as he may look in the Immortal bracket games. Next up in the 1 position, the biggest Jabate hero of all, she had her 1 week of relevance until they nerfed her into the ground at 7.32B. That is my girl, Phantom Assassin. She has now a sub 50% win rate in every single bracket, sitting at a whopping 46% now in the Immortal bracket. They nerfed her base strength, her strength gain, her agility gain, her level 10 talent on Phantom Strike. The hero just simply isn't nearly as powerful as what she used to be, and a hero that like this that loses strength gain when she has so much effective HP with high armor and evasion, it just adds up, people. This hero definitely is on the fringe when she's killing people or dying, and they just made it so she's now the one dying. Sadly, hope you guys enjoyed your 1 week of Phantom Assassin, and maybe when the Persona comes out in the Battle Pass Season 2, after TI, she'll get a little something in the buff department. Now, last but not least, we got ourselves some sleeper picks for the meta. I want you guys to take their win rates as a grain of salt, and I'm going to explain to you why. First up, as my sleeper pick number 1 is Death Prophet. They gave her insane buffs in 7.32B, and even though her win rate is sub 50% in every single bracket. I need to tell you guys why that is and why I think it's not the hero. What they did was they made it so her Spirit Siphon early game is absolutely insane. Her level 4 Spirit Siphon is better as long as the opponent has less than 1600 HP. So for the first 20 minutes of the game, she is on lock for dominating lanes, just being able to survive, no problem. And then they buff the mana on her Crypt Swarm. So what's her only issue now is she doesn't have mobility and she is cooldown reliant. So what people are doing since they buffed the mana on Crypt Swarm, which is her primary form of farming, is that they are just straight up rushing Octarine Core. In the off lane, we're seeing a little bit of Falcon Blades being built, and in the mid lane, obviously you get the bottles and the wand. But I am just seeing straight up Octarine Cores, and it is insane how her timings in the game happen. She just is able to farm jungle better because Spirit Siphon does more damage to creeps, and then she's also just consistently spamming those Crypt Swarms out, and it feels like her ultimate is always off cooldown. I'm seeing a lot of Octarines, Lotuses, Blinks, Shivas. People are even electing to skip BKB a lot of times. We're seeing a lot of shards. We're just seeing a lot of Giga Chad Death Prophets that just don't give a And I feel like in my games, it feels incredibly hard to play against, and whenever it's on my team, it feels incredibly easy to win with. Takes objectives for free like Roche and Towers, and is just constantly a threat on the map. And once she gets level 6, the move speed nerfs just aren't relevant anymore. So you just got to be a little careful on the laning stage since she's a bit slower. Next up is Huskar. Now, this is a hero we do not have to ignore his win rates because they are at least 50% in every single bracket, and it's about 52% in all of the upper tier echelon top 3 brackets of Dota. And what makes this hero so strong, I believe, is that they buffed his laning stage, first and foremost, with base armor and such, but then they also removed the small camp in the mid lane. The Huskar is a hero that is predicated around ruining the lane of the opponent mid. And so what happened in the old patches was that whole idea felt a bit underwhelming because a lot of mid laners that were struggling to get their level 5s and 6s would just be able to use the small camp to do so. But now I have lost several games. I've won several games because my mid Huskar just wins by 2 or 3 levels, and the opponent mid effectively just has no game. So definitely the era of cheese picks in the mid lane, Tinker and Huskar. Keep an eye out for that. I think Huskar can still be played carry, maybe even off lane, but exactly how effective he is in those compared to mid is TBD, guys. Last up, God, you guys are going to probably hate me so much out of this video. Your blood has been boiling. You're like, BSJ, stop telling people to pick Huskar and Tinker, you is Broodmother. So if you see her win rate in Herald, you'll see it's a yikes. 43%, my friends. But if you scroll all the way over to our Immortal bracket and Divine bracket, we see a 53.3% win rate. If you want to learn Brood, this is the time to study Immortal and Divine players. It seems like it wins its lane almost every single game. The movement speed buff on Webs makes it so that she just doesn't have the problem of surviving nearly as much as she did in the past when they nerfed that originally, and it just seems like she has too many builds. I've seen Orchid to shut people down. I've seen Diffusal BKB with the Shard. I've seen all types of things, but this is the patch to learn the cheese, people. If you're feeling cheesy, if you like your dairy, now is the patch to get your yearly intake. But okay, guys, that's it for this week's meta update. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Peace. Like, comment, subscribe.